Looking for the best astrology guidance? You can enjoy an entire month of personalized astrology services for just $3.99. At Sirius Joy, we pride ourselves on providing astrology enthusiasts with exactly what they're looking for. Daily personalized inspiration that speaks directly to the heart. Sign up today and you'll receive personalized messages straight to your phone 7 days a week. And that's just half of it. You'll also get access to our exclusive members-only site with tons of amazing features. Experience the most accurate astrology service on the web at SiriusJoy.com.
Hi, I'm Heather Exposito, one of the astrologers at SiriusJoy.com. I'm here to let you know that Christopher got food poisoning and in the aftermath has lost his voice. So he will not be doing a live Namaste today. Instead, we're going to release our Lights of the Roundtable mega monthly discussion to let you know about the upcoming week. This is just an example of some of the content that we offer all the time on SiriusJoy.com, and it's also going to prepare you for next week's upcoming solar eclipse on October 14th. So we hope you enjoyed this little piece of our content.
Hello, my fellow joiners. Welcome to our monthly Lights of the Round Table, our mega monthly report for our predictions of the upcoming month. And we have our fabulous team here, minus one. Heather sends her regrets. She's not feeling well. There's definitely a major virus going around, sort of Virgo-ish. We'll talk about that in today's show. So we send our love and blessings to Heather. We'll see her next month. But let's say hello, ladies. Let's just go around the table here and introduce ourselves and what you do. The fabulous Kristen Ryder. Hello.
Hi, Sirius Joy, Kristen Ryder here. I am an astrologer, and as you know, I do your daily sound drops full of activations, visualizations, and lots of feelings.
Lots of feelings. Thank you, Kristen.
My soul support groups.
I think I stepped on your joke. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's part of, we were joking about Mercury coming out of shadow. We're all still feeling Mercury retrograde hangover. Basically, you all maybe too. That was one example. Robbie Hunt, welcome.
Hello there, Sirius Joy. So I am an astrologer. I am a minister. And here at Sirius Joy, I do the weekend pep talks, soul support groups, whatever it is that Christopher needs doing. No one else can do it. I'm back there doing it. I'm happy to be here with you today.
And some fabulous metaphysical segments this last month, too. That was amazing.
Thank you.
And Devin Dewar.
Hello, everybody. I'm Devin Dewar, angel, intuitive, and spiritual teacher. I'm also an astrologer, but I host the daily show, Angel Intuitive, in the Pep Talk. It also has its own page. I also host on the first Wednesdays of the month a soul support group called Angel Intervention, where I get to connect with 3 of you. And we talk about answers and guidance for something you've been grappling with, and the angels have guidance for you. And of course, I'm participating in other projects that we're doing along the way, but always so honored to be here as part of the team on Sirius Joy. Thank you.
We're honored to have you. And by the way, that is now casting Angel Intervention at angelintervention.tv. And we're doing the introduction because we have a lot of new members, ladies. We've had some people join us. We've been sort of getting our fingers out there. And there's a lot of new subscribers. So I thought it'd be good to say what we do, because I think this is the only time of the month that we all come on camera together. So let's dive in, ladies. This is fantastic. And let's move on to our next week, which begins on October 8th and moves to October 14th. We move from step 14 Libra, to step 20 Libra. So we're basically wrapping up the second decan for this week. Our theme for this week is Uniting the Light. So this is the week that gets the album cover title. This is the signature track, if you will. The sub is Forming the Team and Mission. So this is the week where we believe we just divorced the earth and divorced ourselves from society. And now we're going to unite that light. There's some planets that tie into that. The key question for the week is, what mistake must I let go of? What mistake must I let go of? Now, I'm in a Chiron return, so you're asking a lot there. It's literally my Chiron of letting go of mistakes. I'm still talking about the mistake I made in the last chapter of this video. So just to give you an example of my poor ability to let go of mistakes. So I think that might be at least the toughest for me. But let's take a look at the key dates again. We'll go back to 1010 here and review. Let's see here. So the first key date is 1010. Pluto stations direct. So that's the big thing. So as I mentioned in the last slide, in the last chapter, we are officially moving ahead with now Pluto direct. This is the official change of world power. I'm certainly seeing this in politics. Lots of rumors going around about who's running for president and why. Obviously, it's a total, here in the United States, a total toss-up. But we're also seeing this in Europe as well, pushing for 5-mile cities and cameras. There's all sorts of weird stuff going forward with, the state, quote, quote, coming into their vision of the future versus the people's vision of the future. I think that's something that's coming up. Again, then Venus will oppose Saturn on the same day. It's also Love Fest Day, so it's quite a day here. And Venus, and actually, yeah, so funny. The moon is quincunxing Pluto. I just noticed, like, whoa. But this Venus in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces, and actually Venus is conjoining Black Moon Lilith. She has moved into Virgo now. So what's interesting is we'll speak to that. Black Moon Lilith now in Virgo ultimately means that all of our fears now are based on reality, which I kind of love and I kind of don't love. Because usually fear is very mysterious and like, oh, that's never going to happen. I think with Venus in Virgo, you see the signs like, oh no, it looks like this car is going to hit this train. It's a lot more of a fright fest, I think. Certainly appropriate for Halloween month. Like we're going to have the shift scared. But Venus opposing Saturn does mean a faith versus reality, but also I think it's like you've promised to be responsible, Saturn, for the way you love yourself and the karma around loving or not loving yourself, whether it's abandonment or poor love or, half-baked love. It's not really fully there. And Venus here is saying, hey, it's time to embody this. It's time to live this. It's no longer a theory. And by the way, face your fears, and I skipped over Venus crossing Black Moon Lilith because we have too many key dates this month. Couldn't do them all. So, and then of course it's Love Fest Day, but we were joking in our meeting, perhaps Fright Fest Day, because this Love Fest will be scared to death, followed by, oh, it's okay. So there may be on this day, Tuesday, October 10th, you might have the shift scared out of you for a moment, only to realize everything is fine. Another interesting note, Jupiter and Uranus both at quantum degrees at this point, 13 and 22. So I think we open up a vortex here. We really start seeing reality shift. I think that goes in concert with Pluto direct. So you start seeing shift happening in a major way, just as you're also, and that could be what's triggering the fear. This happens on a spiritual net 7 day. October 11th, the sun opposes Chiron. This is the what mistakes must I let go of? The sun at 17 degrees Libra opposing Chiron, which is now retrograded to 17 Aries. So this will probably be based on a decision. You're making a commitment, and it is eerily familiar to the last time you screwed up. I think that's going to maybe be what it feels like with this opposition to Chiron. I've been here before. This ain't my first rodeo, that sort of thing. And of course, Chiron says we are going to heal from this, but it is always a little difficult to, to have that faith moving forward. The next key date, October 13th. This is interesting. We have Mars trining Saturn. So Mars here, Saturn moves to step 0, and Mars trines Saturn. Oops, I don't know why it does that. I'll figure that out. Mars trines Saturn. So we have Mars here, 0 degrees Scorpio, Grand Master Scorpio. So this is, you could say, wielding Excalibur. I'd love your opinion on this, ladies, but you might have to pull Excalibur out of your purse, ladies, because it looks like, we're going to have to cut something, and it's trining Saturn at 0 degrees. And this is really what we mean by uniting the light. This is to us the declaration to unite the light. This is, all the swords coming together to a tip, so to speak. If you want to think of the Knights of the Round Table, all the swords are coming to a tip, all for one and one for all sort of energy on this moment. This is because you have drawn a line with yourself. And so you look around and you see the brothers and sisters that are on the same path or on the same notion. Then we have on the 14th, the next day, this is quite a week. This is why this is the title week of the month. On the 14th, we have, first of all, Mercury opposes Chiron. So now our mind is maybe following through and signing that contract. So our heart probably opposing Chiron says, I need to sign the contract. I need to try to do this. Mercury is, all right, let's do this already. And then, of course, this is the big finale. The new moon solar eclipse at 21 degrees. An eclipse, very powerful eclipse here. I love your comments, ladies, on this. I mean, this is a stellium eclipse. It's extremely powerful. We have the moon conjoining the south node, the sun and the moon at 21. So to me, this is a new story. This ultimately is the team uniting around the mission. So united the light with Mars trining Saturn. You said, that's it, all for one and one for all. Now, and what mission are we on? That's what we are committing to. We're committing to our band of brothers and sisters with Mercury at 17 there. So there's a commitment to the outer relationships, a commitment to the team. And of course, opposing this is no picnic either. You have Mercury opposing Chiron still in this moment. So it is a second chance. I mean, you could say that Aries is the night. We're also, of course, it's opposing Eris and the North Node at 24. Literally, this is the Excalibur moment. And so this now becomes the solar eclipse. So Excalibur is literally transferred from the stone here to the purse. I'm saying purse because it's Libra, by the way. It's divine feminine. So we are female knights hiding our swords, right? So this is, I think, an incredibly powerful. This sets the mission. And I just might add before I roundtable this might be a response to whatever the heck is going to happen here with Pluto and this quantum stuff here, that grab for power. It could be that the people rise up. Ladies, what are your thoughts? Let's start with Kristen.
Yeah, and just a reminder to everyone that this is, as Pluto goes direct on the 10th, this is the last time it will be at 27. We are not going back to this degree. We're going to go through 28 next fall. It will only come back to 29, just to give everyone that marathon perspective of Chiron and Aries, that we are rewriting her story, his story. We are rewriting this with that all the Chiron opposition of the sun opposing and then our mind opposing, because I find it fascinating that God Universe starts this week out with Venus coming out of her shadow, finally facing our greatest fears of the boundaries with ourself, of our self-love, trusting ourselves that we do know how to love ourselves and really put that into our reality. So it's really an opportunity as we start this week out to ground that self-love in action in our day-to-day realities once and for all. That's the first thing we can do differently to rewrite history and not repeat history. But then we have that get triggered a little bit with the sun opposing Chiron. And it's like, just keep making new decisions based on the healed self, decisions based on the loved self. It's like, how many times are we all so hard on ourselves for that mistake we made? It's like, oh, but I'm a perfectionist. That's good. Says Virgo. But that can help us to change the decisions that we're making so we're not coming from that fearful but loving place. That solar eclipse at the end, I'm just like so excited about that. But it's interesting just after that Mars goes in to 0 Scorpio, and that is the Excalibur, like, thou shalt not pass. Even with myself, I do know how to trust my feelings. I do know how to wield this sword, and I've got a really fancy purse for it. But that eclipse of us all coming together, it just feels like, and we have that Love Fest day. It's like, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I love you. I'm trying to like cover because we have so many aspects this week
Oh,
leading
it's crazy.
to this eclipse, but the eclipse just really feels like, here we are. Let's do this.
Yeah, it does seem pretty powerful. I love your comment. Couple things that I really take away from that. One, the embodiment of the self-love. That's a very good point. Venus coming out of shadow, another very good point. So all that work we did with that Venus retrograde, it's now time to walk the talk and embody that. You're right. Also, I see the Mars trying to Saturn at 0. It's like time to toe the line with ourselves, like no more cheating on your diet or whatever the heck it was. To some degree, I think that drawing the line with yourself and holding it is probably what makes the difference. I find that fascinating. And then also just the divine feminine talk that is interesting. And I hadn't thought of course, because I'm a man, right? But in this re-evolution versus the first revolution, it's like, it was all men, white men at the table of the last democracy, meeting and summit. Now women are going to be full participants. This is a whole different re-evolutionary situation because the woman's voice, we can say, is honored. We've gone through some of the stuff. We've gone through the Me Too movement. We've really, in the last 5 years, helped women. Women have demanded that they had that equal seat at the table. So this is not your average conflict that we're going to be up against as far as a shift to world power.
Yes, and there's more to be said.
Of course, said the woman.
Well, and I think we're going to start seeing, a lot of mama bears like myself really like, okay, I've gone through the war zone and I'm not the same. And that's a good thing. So that's all I'll say there.
Right. There's a coming to the table with a beef already.
And it's the children. It's to protect the children. No more.
Yeah, that's true.
No
Okay,
more.
I see what you're saying subtly, but I see
It's the mama bear. That's what I'm saying.
You mess with my kids, you die. That mantra. Yeah,
This
exactly.
Excalibur and my fancy purse means it comes with me.
And my matching purse. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're gonna die and with style, honey. So, okay. Robbie, what are your thoughts?
Well, to go along with that, so first off, the 21-degree new moon, that follows a 21-degree new moon in Virgo that we had as well. So two new moons that are changing the story.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is I ran the chart for when Mars goes into Scorpio. And with Pluto being so active, I really wanted to see what that chart looked like, given that Mars is the previous ruler of that Mars is the previous ruler of Scorpio.
Yeah.
Now Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. On that chart because I'm looking at it, you've got three things at 0. You've got, of course, that trine between Mars and Saturn at 0, but you still have Black Moon Lilith there at 0 degrees. Now, when I look at the rest, and you still also have Jupiter and Uranus at breakdown to breakthrough degrees. So looking at when Mars goes into Scorpio tells me a bit about how that entire Mars and Scorpio transit is going to be. And Mars will be in Scorpio until November 24th. It moves into Scorpio on the 12th of October at 18 degrees Libra, by the way. So another significant thing happening at a Mars ruled degree. I think with Pluto at 27 and all of this 0 energy, I think this is a day when something outrageous is tried to be put upon us. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. I mean, I came back from France finding out that YouTube has created this whole thing now where if you are putting health advice, even if you are a health professional that disagrees with what is the official position of the World Health Organization, they're not even putting you in the search results. So there is some kind of a big power, and we are going to have to defend it. This is a courage thing. And I think with Saturn at 0 Pisces now in retrograde, anytime where we've not had the faith and the courage of our conviction, with that 0 degrees, if you want to dip into that pool of courage with it in a trine to a 0 degree Mars, you go right ahead. It'll be there. I think it will be there. If you want the courage of your conviction, it'll be there. With Pluto at also a Mars ruled degree.
Yeah.
I think all the energy that builds up on that October 2nd day with all that pressing of the personal planets, here we go. This is a uniting of the light. And so it's not just us. We'll meet our brothers and sisters. Now, I'm not trying to encourage violence, but this is where if it shows up at your front door, you'll be prepared because you'll have a conviction of your heart. The moon is at 19 Virgo. Venus is at 2 Virgo. So there's a reality of our feelings there. And Mercury's at 12 Libra.
Yeah.
6 degree orb between it and that sun.
Pluto at 27. It's funny, when Pluto first retrograded, when the United States Pluto return, we had the trucker convoy in Canada. And when Pluto went back to the perfection, once again at 27, Canada had another major coast-to-coast uprising of people speaking out against education going corrupt in Canada. So it's interesting to see our brothers and sisters of the North having their declaration of independence in the way that we did the United States, 250 years ago. They're taking that torch, it seems like, for the world. They're meeting all the cues. And I think they're a Cancer like the United States also, if I'm not mistaken. I think Canada's a Cancer, are they not?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure Canada's a Cancer and Mexico's a Virgo.
Okay.
Well, the eclipse is going to be going through Canada, US, and Mexico.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
So it's our continent. That's interesting.
And there are things going on in Europe where people are doing the same thing.
Yes.
They're rebelling against all kinds of things.
Okay, excellent. This has been profound. I feel like we need to lighten the energy. It's gonna be interesting. The next week is Sunday, October. I'm still catching up here. October 15th to October 21st. We go from step 21, which is the morning that Sunday morning carries over the new moon eclipse energy. Probably going to be some eclipse hangover there. The moon moves on to Scorpio, so we have some sobering realizations after the eclipse. And we end the week at step 28 in the evening of Saturday, the 21st. This week we call casting the mission. So you've united the nights, you've united the lights, and now we're casting the mission. What is the mission? The subtitle is solidifying the team. So, and by solidifying, I sort of mean that people start to see what they bring to the table and you start to distribute your talents. And, much like our example here, we all come to the table with different talents here, and we unite our talents to this fantastic web. I think that's going to be a similar theme among people in their sphere of influence. I think a subplot that's happening is people are standing in their leadership power as well. The key question of the week is, what conflict must I avoid? And that's something that came to me intuitively. The pick your battles kind of, I think this is very important with our times. We're being encouraged to hate one another. We're being encouraged to go against one another. Let's not fall for that booby trap and pick our battles.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry, with divine feminine heiress, I had to say booby trap.
Booby traps. No, it just makes me think of Goonies. Hey guys, I got the booby traps.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Later to win an Oscar for Everything Everywhere at Once or whatever. Yeah. Very good. Booby traps. Yeah. So that said, let's take a look at the planets and see what we see here. I'm going to do share screen. It takes a moment. Takes a village. All right. So this begins on the first key date is 10/18, Wednesday, 10/18. So it's not till Wednesday that shift really happens. The sun opposes the north node, or you could say the sun conjoins the south node. We were debating that, but look at this massive hallelujah yacht here. Hallelujah. We have Neptune at Grandmaster 25, Uranus at Grandmaster 22, Neptune even more Grandmaster. If Uranus is in Aquarius, that would be even more potent. We'd probably all be irradiated. But on this moment, the sun is conjoining the south node. You know, this might be when you actually file for that divorce. I'm not sure, ladies. I want your opinion on that. It seems Robbie has decoded that enough is enough earlier in that dynamic day that she pointed out. This is the somehow follow through, but it's the uniting of, you know, my destiny and also the innovation of technology, that it, you know, that the innovation, using technology, using innovation, getting more for less. Mars at 4, really drawing a powerful line there. Mars at 4, the sun at 24, the nodes at 24. So we're seeing that, you know, 22 net 4, where you belong, get where you belong, get on the right side of herstory, to quote Kristen there. 10/19, the very next day, Mercury now opposes the north node. So it's like a 2-day divorce, 2-day divorce court or something that happens there. So it's a mental follow through, not a lot of headlines, but worth noting. The moon going to cross the galactic center. So our story is changing. We're filing our flight plan with the universe. Next day, October 20th. I don't know why I want to stay in August. I'm just loving that Venus retrograde. Still want to be there. Couple of things here. We have Mercury square Pluto. We have also, I'm not sure which happens first. Let me just see. This is 8:50. Actually, I thought that. My gut was telling me. So first happens is Mercury conjoins the sun early in the morning. So our heart and mind come together. Mercury has now caught up. This is a Kazemi moment here. It happens at 26:34. So this is a commitment, a devotion. So now we are devoted. This is a devotion, I think, to the team. I think this is a devotion to the mission of the solar eclipse, that 21 solar eclipse. And then later in the day at 8:50 p.m. that night, to be specific, this is Eastern time, we then have Mercury square Pluto. So Mercury square Pluto, this is probably, so if there's going to be conflict, you know, I think, and the sun then squares Pluto the very next day. Do I have it here? Yep, I do. So the sun then squares Pluto the very next day. So it's almost like, and the moon crosses Pluto on that same day. So this is something with some gravity, I think. Some gravity. Mercury conjoining white moon Lilith, white asteroid Lilith. Very interesting as well. So I find that to be fascinating for white Lilith fans. This is, the asteroid is saying, you know, this is the solution to your fears, is to be committed to this feeling of probably, you know, and we haven't even talked about this, but Libra is liberty. Libra is justice for all.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Libra is like, you know, kind of I look at always Wonder Woman. She's got like American stripes and stars on her costume, you know, but I just keep seeing Wonder Woman images here in this sense. But it seems like we sort of, you know, with Mercury scoring Pluto, we give notice. And then the sun scoring Pluto, we show up on their doorstep. Kristen, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was literally thinking the same thing, you know, that's just to skip through, because I already hit the sun opposing Chiron, and it's going to continue to play out to keep making those new decisions based on the story we are born to live, and keeping that. But our minds really like checking in with ourselves, like, wait, am I getting hoodwinked with this square to Pluto? Whoa. You know, like a real check-in from God universe. And then that sun square Pluto at the end is really like, am I going to trust my heart and not only worldly justice, but divine godly justice, and trust my heart? Or am I going to fall for the power trips of the old paradigm again. That's that square, the redirect of that energy there. And I think many of us, having formed our new Lights of the Round Table, uniting for the light, this is a real solidifying opportunity for us to honor the divine justice and let it in.
Interesting. Yeah. And that square, I think, is, like you said, probably the most powerful moment of checking in. Like, really, that kind of private moment I see, like the knight taking a knee before the battle.
Right. Like, okay, are you coming home to your maker? Or like, it's that real defining moment of it's so strange that it's such a powerful inner shift for all of us, because it's about the night preparing all the tools, all the faculties, all the wisdom, all the training in order to go forward out into the world.
And having to be this new, support to yourself. I just want to keep underscoring that. I think the marriage vows are coming up with this week. It's like you have to stay true first to your vows to yourself, which is, I think, the training that we have lost since the last American Revolution. We've,
they didn't want us to have that training. Certain folks didn't want us to have that training. They wanted us to forget how powerful we are.
Yeah, exactly. Relying on the grocery store instead of growing our own vegetables, quite literally. Robbie, what is your thought on this week, or thoughts?
I think the only thing I would add is, on that Sun square Pluto day, Venus is at 11 Virgo.
Oh, that's a grandmaster. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just feel like there's a lot of sobering there. I think that may also be a day in which people actually wake up just a little bit, that they actually do see the power grab in front of them. Because maybe it ends up being right on their doorstep there. But and it's part of an Earth trine that also involves a moon in Capricorn. At the time that happens, the moon's at 20 degrees. So there's something sobering that I think we feel.
Yes. Most likely. Yeah. I don't want to say 9/11, but something up to that. It could be something of that scale, like something where we have to swallow some sort of reality pill, reality horse pill, with ourself, or our own integrity. Venus at 11 gets threatened. I mean, Venus is an orb to Black Moon Lilith at 2 degrees. So it's like, everyone, a lot of times it happens in the news, probably in America. It's like, well, that's too bad for them Texans. Too bad for them Floridians. And now, but when it lands on your doorstep, oh, that's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? And that might be the case where we realize, oh, none of us are exempt, from this. Devin, what are your thoughts? Or were the angels' thoughts too? I want both.
No, I agree with you. I do think there is going to be a little bit of an awakening, but the angels are saying it's really going to be more for those who are absolutely refusing to budge on old traditional values and beliefs. They're refusing to learn outside the box. They get all their media, all their information from mainstream media. They don't do any of their own research, because the angels are even speaking to this. Like, you're going to see that there are people out there, they just refuse. They refuse to learn more about something or open their eyes to something. And they're just stubborn about it. And we actually got this message quite a bit last month's Mega Monthly about, choosing your battles wisely. So it speaks to what you were saying, Christopher. It's like, you are going to have to stand up for your beliefs. But again, it is that choosing your battles wisely. And if you want to know, well, which battle is it? It's probably not going to be that uncle that brings up the annoying topic at every Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those people they're stubborn. They don't open their eyes. They don't want to know. And it's because they're afraid. They're afraid of what they're going to learn, that they had the power all this time, they had the power within them to move past whatever trap they feel they're in. They don't want to learn about that. So when you get challenged on how you feel, they're really encouraging you to step back and say, is this person too stubborn to learn about this and get the information? Because if they are, then this is not my battle. If you have somebody that is willing to listen, who is willing to just have that good conversation, then they want you to stand up for your beliefs. They want you to bring balance into the conversation. Let them tell you their viewpoint. Ask them questions about those conversations, Mars and Libra, that in South Node and Libra, that will get the conversation going and give you an opportunity to enlighten them and share the information. But that's really the guidance here as far as avoiding conflict. Is it's going to be a little sobering to realize that, it may be somebody as close as your mother or your daughter that is not going to get on the same page with you about this. And you have to choose to walk away from that battle and come to your Sirius Joy community. Let us support you. Because the angels say we got to make the long-term plans that are following what our heart wants. So if in the immediate reality, you feel like you're getting a no everywhere you turn when you're trying to share your dreams with someone, or then that's not the place to share those dreams. That's not the place to make your plans. Make your long-term plans in a place where your heart feels safe.
Excellent advice. And thank you for that too, because it's sort of like, it's one of the most painful parts of this moment. And I think back to actually World War II, and I'm always imagining, first I was always like, how did the people get duped by a guy like Hitler? Well, now I know how that works. I can see how that happens, like, oh, that's how half the population. And then it's like, some people are in it to learn to see it the hard way, that, their path was to dig their hooves in. And when Eisenhower took, German citizens through tours of the concentration camps, they broke down in tears. They were hysterical. They couldn't believe that had been the case. And so in the end, it's going to be heartbreaking. Like the people, if you're good with your guides and the path to be on, and you wish your uncle was on that same team, I think compassion is a good rule there, in the sense of if you're right, they're going to be hurting in the end. So let's not break that bond. My personal response, and the last thing I'll say that speaks to this too, this is all to your point, Devin, that quite often with light workers, it's like one per family. That's what I find. You don't usually find two in a family. Like there just ain't enough to go around. Like it's the case. Like God had to distribute them. So we really want our family on the same political position or whatever power position, and we don't realize we have the karma of standing against, what we disagree with. That's our karma, to stand up for what we believe in the light, which would mean that your immediate support network would be, against you. I think in the art of war, not that I believe in war, you want to turn that energy into empowerment. The fact that Uncle Bob is against you, bounce off that energy, use it as your strength, like two magnets reversed each other, so that you can spring forward even more. And I love that point, find your agreement with your band of brothers and sisters, the nights that you have made, you've agreed to at your roundtable. That's where you get the support. And the way I handle Uncle Bob is I say, okay, gentlemen's bet. Let's just make a gentleman's bet and leave it at that and see how it turns out. And it turns into a bet versus turns into a power struggle. And, and I'm going to want your car, uncle, and your swimming pool is what I want. So if I win, make the odds high, kind of thing. Well, thank you, ladies. I just want to wrap up and tell our entire audience that we are launching the 40 Days of Truth and Purpose. We are working on it as a team right now. This is going to help you find your truth in your astrology, in your chart. If you don't know your chart, get ready, folks. You're going to know your chart like the back of your hand. You are going to understand yourself from top to bottom and what your life's purpose was. Funny, the divine timing, because right now we're being called into service, I think, in our communities and in our world. So and we're renewing our marriage vows. So it's funny how this all channeled when it did. Speaking of divine timing, Devin, we've been doing 40 days of self-love for like 4 or 5 years now. And now we come up with this one,
Yes.
But all of us are going to be participating in building this. It's going to be a fantastic program. Mark it on your calendars. There will be some journaling, but not super heavy. And it starts, I think, the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. That's 0 degrees. The 24th. Yeah, the 24th. It starts October 24th. That's the morning that you wake up to step 0, Scorpio. And we'll go until Grandmaster step 12, Sagittarius. So it's going to be great. All right, ladies, I would say let's add some more, but we're down, Heather, and we're 15 minutes over. So we we have given a mega, 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 mega. Until next time, everyone, we love you, and we'll see you next month. Live, love, be.
Love you.
Love you.
Love everyone.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed watching our astrology team at SiriusJoy.com in action. Remember, you can join for just $3.99 for your first month and watch that video in its entirety and listen to your individual mega monthly reports for all 12 signs. Coming up next, we are airing an encore presentation of Christopher's interview with Tarot Master Chris Reck from Minnow Pond Tarot. In case you missed this interview the first time around, you will not want to miss it this time. The two Chris's play very well off each other, and it is so insightful. Enjoy.
I made sure to shout it out. So,
Hey there, everyone. We are back with Astro Mingle, and I'm very proud to introduce intuitive tarot reader Chris Reck from Minnow Pond Tarot on YouTube. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
hey, thanks for having me.
It's great to be talking to another Chris. My standard joke is I've never met a Chris I didn't like.
Exactly right. I call it the Chris Hive Mind. So,
Oh, so it is? Okay,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
see
yeah.
it too. There's like a natural sort of like, I don't know, like a bow or a grace that I meet when I meet another Chris. It might be the Christ conscious thing of Christopher. I don't know, but
Right. Yeah.
we're all heartfelt in that way. I've been really getting to know your stuff in the last few weeks, ever since your name was brought up, and I myself grew up in a tarot life. My mom would do my cards all the time as a kid. I'm terrified of the Tower card, for instance, and they were always dead spaking on. I really love your approach, man. I think, I can see in your chart where it may come from. You've got this like Pisces vision, but you got a lot in Capricorn. So it's like you come with like practical advice. How, my first question to you is, tell me the story of how you got on this path of being an on-camera tarot reader. How'd that
Yeah.
happen?
I mean, it's like, kind of a long story, but it started when I was younger. My grandma, she actually told me I was an Aquarius. So, that I was probably, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years old when she told me that. And
Wow.
yeah, so that's like my earliest, astrology memory. But I think that kickstarted it. I pretty much have been into just like weird stuff, anything esoteric, aliens, Bigfoot, all the good stuff, right? Forever. And so yeah, then long story short, I had a business failure when I was younger, and I was sitting around in my room for a good 4 years, just staring at a wall, pretty much doing nothing. But I was actually doing stuff. I was learning, I was listening to a lot of stuff. But I've always been into cards, always been into tarot. Never read professionally like before I started the channel, really, but I did read, just screwing around with the cards. And then one day my mom came in my room and she said, "Hey, why don't you start a tarot channel?" And that was it. I literally started it that night. So that's how I started.
Really? You
Yeah,
just did
yeah.
it.
Just
That's
did it. Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And how did you come up with the brand Minopon? It's an interesting. It feels very tactile. There's something very real about it.
Yeah, so that the funny thing about that is that was another business. After I had the business failure, I had an idea to kind of knock off Groupon. I don't know if you remember Groupon.
Oh yeah, I do.
So I started a company called Minopond. It was just Minopond. It wasn't Minopond Tarot, obviously. But the reason I used that is because I didn't know what I wanted to call it. I loved that logo. I had a good friend of mine who I worked with for a long time created that logo for me, and I loved it. So I didn't want to get rid of it, and so I was like, oh, I'll just use it for this tarot channel, and the rest is history. So people always think there's something like some weird like thing with the name, but that's really it. It was just the name of another company, and I didn't want to, like I said, I didn't want to get rid of it. I wanted to keep it.
It really works. It's very memorable. I think you downloaded that, that vision. And of course, you being a Pisces, I can't help but think that you would be a minnow.
Right. Yeah. And the two fish that are in it. So
Yeah,
that also.
exactly. There's a little bit of nod and a wink there going on. Although, I ran your chart. Thank you for your stats. That Aquarius rising and Mercury in Aquarius, I can see where you would believe that you were in Aquarius for years growing up, because you have a lot of that in you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it seems like you're sort of a wizard that talks to God. Is the way I look at your chart.
Yeah, that would be a creepy way. I like that.
That's pretty much it is. It seems like a conversation with God. And I noticed right away, I mean, your readings are like instantaneous. Like you are coming down the meeting before the card hits the table. You're already describing it. It looks like you looked at it for a fraction of a second. So I'm guessing that you are a bit of a channel. I mean,
Yeah.
What are your intuitive psychic abilities? And
Yeah, I consider what I do channeling. I just get out of the way. Like I just said to you, if I think about it, not the bad stuff comes out, nothing comes out. If I just get out of my own way and just let it come through, then the right things seem to come out. So I call it spewing actually, which is weird, but I just
spewing.
don't,
Yeah, that's interesting.
I just don't I let the words come out. I don't even think about it. I just like I said, get out of my own way.
When did you really trust that? Because I know, I myself remember when I used to do readings in the very beginning, I would like print out a 10-page packet on them and do all this research. And then I get to the reading, I'd be nervous for about 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, the spewing would take over.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, my question is, how'd you come into that confidence and trust?
I think, well, I did a bunch of readings when I started the channel for people. I think that really helped doing more people, because what ended up happening is I would do these readings, I would think something, I wouldn't say it, and then the people would come back to me and they would say something that I kind of thought I remembered thinking during the reading. I remember popping into my head. I remember distinctly this lady, I was like reading for her and I was like, oh, this lady, she wants to start her own hair salon. And, I thought I didn't say it in the reading. And then she told me after what she was doing. And she said this whole thing about hair salon. And I was like, oh my God, like I should have just listened to myself and, just let it out. And, I don't know, I kind of think of life as like experiments. So I'm always, everything I do, I'm always like correcting, I'm always looking for correction. So I think just naturally I just started, I was like, okay, stop doing that. Stop not saying it and just say what you think.
Yeah. Was there ever like a ludicrous final test of that you saw or thought something that just seemed insane and you put it out there?
I think like during, I remember talking about Neptune and Pisces in 2016. I've been trying to find the video because I literally said something about, kind of like something having to do with the disease coming to the world. I mean, to me, it was kind of obvious at the time, because I was just thinking about Neptune and Pisces. And, I was like, oh, it's anything that flows. And I can't remember exactly the connection I made, but I in a live, I said that I actually put a bounty out for anyone who can find that video. So, because I can't remember exactly where it is, but I want it because it was like, I literally said that there would be, a disease coming. I remember I was specifically worried about 15 degrees for some reason, but yeah.
That's interesting. I could feel, flipping to COVID, I could feel something dark and luminous on the horizon.
Yeah.
And I kept telling people, I don't know what this is. I don't know. I have no idea what it is, but it feels really dark. And I could feel the Saturn Pluto conjunction in January 2020 was basically it. And, and that turned out to be really patient zero in the United States anyways, right around that conjunction. Everyone's worried about impeachment, but I felt something much darker on the horizon. Are you in contact with your guides in the sense of by name or personality or a familiarity, or is there an angel that you work with specifically?
No, I kind of take like, I call it a shamanistic approach. So I don't allow things into my space. Not that I'm against it or anything. Just how I read, just how I learned how to read, taught myself and everything. So I never really ended up working with, any of my guides or anything.
So you're just doing a flat wizard download from the universe,
Yeah,
is what you feel like.
yeah, straight download. I mean, I've had some weird experiences. I got attuned for Reiki, and there were these candles around me, and they were like flickering. And the lady that attuned me was like, "Oh, all your guides are here and stuff." But I've never really tried to tap in, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. And that's interesting. That's very Aquarius, I think. That's
Yeah.
seems very Aquarian. Aquarian is kind of like, I don't care, I just want to get to the magic and the metaphysics and not necessarily, anything pre-incarnate. So that makes sense. Are you a psychic empath in the sense that while you're taping, do you feel the audience? I mean, you stream live, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes I go live. Lately I just do premieres for the videos, but yeah, I mean, that's how I read. I try to put myself in their shoes, the person I'm reading for, and so yes.
And do you feel them like, do you feel them while you're taping? I guess is what I'm asking. Like, can you feel their reactions and
No,
correct
I wouldn't
yourself?
say. I don't think I can feel their reactions. Maybe if I thought about it while I was doing it, I would say, oh yeah, I am feeling something. I mean, there are definitely times where I'm like, I make a joke. I'm like, I know, I think I made a joke a couple weeks ago. I can't remember whose video it was in, but I was like, I know what you're thinking because I remember saying something and they were, I felt like somebody was like, oh no, I want to go do X, Y, Z. So sometimes I'll call people out.
Got you. Yeah. I have the same thing where I'll have like a telepathic reaction and I
Yeah.
used to ignore it. And then I'd see it in the comments. I'd be like, oh man, I felt that
Yeah.
person's comment.
Yeah.
And then later, like, so now I just go ahead and say like, okay, I'm picking up what he was like right now writing a nasty comment. Let me just tell you, that's very interesting. Do you have like a wizard theory on, a lot of people, tarot, tarot's one of those things where you just got to experience it for yourself to see that it's accurate. Do you have, working wizard theory on how it works?
Yeah, I think so. How it works, I'm not so sure. I think that, because I think that, people who are meant to watch it, at the time. So, maybe it's like a, law of attraction thing, or they're just guided to, watch the advice at the time.
Yeah. I certainly felt that. I mean, of course, I love being in the seat of my viewers because I'm like, he's just doing this for me. He's talking straight to me, but it's for the entire Taurus spectrum. And I have to just say, I just saw your recent Taurus videos preparing for this, just to be up on stuff. And it was just strikingly on, man. It was so good.
Thanks.
And you do great at coaching too. You're not just, throwing down the cards. You have this other part of you that's guiding and coaching and teaching as well. Where does that wisdom come from? Is that channeling as well, or is that just trial and error, your Capricorn energy?
Yeah, I'd say both. And, like I said, I suffered for 4 years, and really it just comes from a place of like, I don't want anyone to have to go through that, just staring at a wall, feeling hopeless, lost, not having answers. And so, I spent that 4 years learning, as much as I can and actually putting stuff into practice. So it's all, real world stuff. I think that my advice is like the best advice from, so many successful people that I've learned from.
It seems like you are an avid student of success. I also noticed that you are really strong coach of manifestation. You had a few
Hmm.
little sidebars where you're talking about the power to manifest and law of attract. That seems like a talent that you also have. I mean, obviously you're doing quite well for yourself and you made this into a success. But it's interesting that you bring in that manifestation coaching. Does that come from trial and error as well?
Yeah, and I think we're in a time where we have to change our story. So, I'm a big fan of that's how I changed my life. I was stuck. Even the channel I have, I always say was stuck at like 40,000 for a long time, and people were blowing by me. People had started like I'd already had my channel for 4 years, and there were channels that had like just started that had 100,000, and so then I was like, okay, what is the story that I'm telling myself? And I've literally changed my life just by literally the words I use. So that's that's what I want to tell people.
Yeah, I think it's very powerful. You are 5-degree Pisces, and from my school of thought, that's a Mercury-based Pisces. So I can see where that story you tell yourself is so powerful. So that's your biggest piece of advice, is to change the story you tell yourself in your head.
Yeah, and I still script every single day. Like I always say, whether you think it's law of attraction or not, I still think it's even if you don't believe in law of attraction, I think it's a super useful thing to do, to like script your day or just script how you want things to go, just even from a mindset perspective.
So you literally, at the beginning of the day, you say to yourself, you have intentions in your mind that you set out to set those intentions, to see those intentions fulfilled.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I do it at night. I know there are a lot of like teachers out there that say do it at the beginning of the day or whatever. I always do it before I go to bed, and I just write how I want, things to go. Sometimes I always tell people like I don't pick a time frame. Some days I'll be like tomorrow. Sometimes it'll just be about a certain thing that I want to, happen in my life, and so it's like pretty loose, and I just write whatever I feel like it. People always say like how long. I'm always like some days I write a paragraph, some days it's pages and pages.
So you write it down literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Yep. I actually just do it on an iPad. So, I just write right on there.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have something in our service called a sleep intention, and I'm on the same page as you. I feel like if you go to bed, it's sort of with an intention in your mind, falling asleep, there's something mystical, magical that happens in that 12th house journey.
Yeah.
And I find that I forget sometimes because I'm so tired by the time I get to the time in the day, but I do see the power of that. I love that you're astrological based. I mean, and I think, I don't know where it started. When I was on YouTube, there was no other astrologers, there was no tarot readers, anything. And this idea of reading tarot for a sign seems to be invented by you and your generation of tarot readers. Like it wasn't when I was growing up, that's not how it was. My mom would point out different signs, like you got a Pisces around you, watch out, that type of thing. So how is it that, how did you come into the astrological perspective? It sounds like it was an equal influence in your life.
Yeah, so like for the channel itself, I started reading for the signs because I think there were like a couple channels that when I started, and that's what they were doing. So I was just doing what, I just started doing what they were doing, and it made sense to me because I was like, oh, this will make it more specific. Even I did it for the deacons I think it was my second year. I started I broke it down into each deacon as well, so to make it more specific. But that was like way too much work, so I didn't go any further than that. But yeah, that's how it started.
You did like Pisces first deacon, Pisces second deacon, Pisces third deacon.
Yeah, all the way.
12 is already tough, but 36 is
yeah. Yeah, way too much.
Yeah, I started my career doing 12 horoscopes on video a day, 5 days a week, 60 videos a week. It was just super ambitious, set in the tent, but it did not turn out. Do you find that astrology affirms what the tarot cards are saying, or do you find that it leads, or is it both?
Yeah, I think both. Like sometimes I read and I'm like, oh, this is so obvious to me. This is exactly what's going on. And then other times, I do think that there are things that lead, in the astrology.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned in a recent video, my producer was telling me that the full moon in Pisces, you couldn't sleep for 3 days.
Yeah. Normally I'm okay during the full moons, but I don't know what it was with that one, but I could not sleep. Yeah.
That was a tough full moon, man.
Yeah.
I think it was the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde, like all the planets retrograde and a full moon in Pisces, like exposing all your subconscious junk in your trunk,
Yeah,
it was tough.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I was like trying to sleep and I was like thinking about all these things, like just random past stuff, and I think that's what it was.
Well, thanks for that affirmation. And from a Pisces, I think you're the only Pisces I've spoken to since then. So I appreciate
Yeah, there you go.
I have a personal belief that Pisces are past their karma and onto their greatest gifts. I personally believe Pisces are going to, with Neptune moving through your sign, this is going to be the moment where Pisces lead spiritually instead of fumble with past life karma stuff. It seems like you certainly seem to be a leader. I hear you bringing up Neptune and Pisces a lot. What is your perspective or vision of it? What do you see through the cards?
So I don't know why I became obsessed with Neptune and Pisces because
it seems like it.
Yeah,
you bring it up a lot.
It's one of those things where, I think that it's a major, kind of like tipping point in, I think there's a couple that Uranus and Taurus, I think Uranus and Taurus is weird to me because it's like super innovative, or at least I see it that way, like in regards to freedom, like people setting themselves free. And, but Neptune and Pisces, I think, because it's like, we're in this time where I believe we're breaking free from all these like beliefs, like, just traditional beliefs. And I think at the simplest level, Neptune and Pisces is a direct challenge to traditional belief. Like if you've always believed something, Neptune and Pisces is like, why? Is there something else? Is there something better?
Yeah, you seem really interested in the power of belief as well.
Yeah.
I noticed that. And Uranus and Taurus is fascinating too. I think it's an interesting time. The freedom thing is a fascinating takeaway that I agree with, but didn't really recognize until I saw you talk about it. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And I think back to World War II, there was a fight for freedom and freedom of the world, but also then there's Uranus has that like utopia, dystopia flip of the coin. So I also see this huge push to take away freedom as well. as a certain theme. Given that you're throwing down the cards all the time, are you catching themes going on in the collective conscious? Can you think of a theme right now that's pretty
Yeah.
big in your cards?
I always say like Two of Swords, third place solutions, I call it. Two of Swords is like this or that, but she has that island behind her. And I always say that, she is my card of third place solutions. Everybody thinks this or that, to solve problems. But I think it's those like left field things that are going to maybe save the day, so to speak, right now.
So is it the thing that you overlooked, or it's the abstract thing, or
I think it's like abstract. I have a theory of like these, what I think is the I say the currency of the future. And so like one of the things that I think will be very valuable in the future is people who curate, who are able to curate information, put things together. And so there's a great author, James Altucher. He talks about idea sex, like two great ideas coming together. So I feel there will be, a lot of, if you have a crazy idea, I don't even know what it looks like. Most people, I think these will be very, unique solutions to problems, or not even problems, like good stuff that's happening, just new ways of doing things.
And you may be predicting Uranus and Gemini too.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
I mean, I can see that logical consequence coming right around the corner.
So
on the contrary, what do you mean by stinking thinking?
I mean, like,
that's a term I've heard you say. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, think negative thinking. I always say no stinking thinking, because, it's just like, yeah, I think there's, and I always tell people, like, I think there's between now and like 2033, there's going to be plenty of stuff to worry about. But, also you can be one of the people who worries, or you can be one of the people who gets there and has like done something.
Mm-hmm. What side of the coin are you on as far as our future? It looks like, obviously we do the best we can to predict, but things look bleak. It looks like we're in trouble. Do the cards point to options ahead for us?
I think there are a lot of options. I always point to like Louise Hay. She says you have to see the dirt on the ground before you can sweep it up. And I think we're in the dirt sweeping phase. We're in that like dirt sweeping phase. So, of course we have to see all these things before, we clean up the dirt, right?
So you're basically, God is showing us, the universe is showing us all the stuff we have to clean up.
Yeah, and I think there's also like a lot of empty space that people should be filling. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of bad ideas right now, but like I think part of the third place solutions is, I think the solutions are going to come from us people, not like the government or anything like that. So I always tell people, like, fill it with your good ideas. That's where it's going to come from.
I'm in complete concert with you on that, sir.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest takeaways watching your videos this week, where you inspired me or affirmed for me what I've been sensing, which is that God does have a plan. It's you.
Yeah, it's you, right? Yeah.
That's why you came down, and it's waiting. And I think in an interesting way, it's like, Pluto and Capricorn last time was the American democracy, the democratic model was there. Freedom of rights came out for the first time. And now in this next Pluto revolution, it's like, we've already given the freedoms. I think now it's about, well, what does the population do with those freedoms? Like, one, you were granted them. Now it's up to us. I feel it seems like.
Yeah, I think, and I also think of like Pluto and Aquarius. Like Aquarius is, the circulatory system, and I always think of that's why I say we're like in a heart-based time. Even though it's not necessarily the heart. I don't know. There's something there that always pops into my head. And it's something that's been coming up like so much in the readings as well. Is really like that we're in this heart-based time. We need to follow our heart. Everybody knows what to do. They just have to do it, right? I
agree. I honestly think the Venus retrograde strictly through Leo for the first time since 1812 and 1722 was a major change of the heart. We talk about conspiracies. I think God has been conspiring for our happiness the whole time.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be a total setup for success.
Yeah, of course.
Only we seem to be the ones in the way. I was watching one of your segments for Taurus this upcoming week, September 11th to 17th video, and you said you had a beef with the Knight of Pentacles. What's your beef with the Knight of Pentacles?
My beef with the Knight of Pentacles is that he doesn't move. He's, the only knight, in tarot, even, all the knights represent movement, and they all also represent fire as well. I know everybody splits them out into earth, all the elements and everything, but every knight is fire. And, he's the only one that's not moving. He has all this knowledge and wisdom. He's got those oak leaves on his helmet, which represent knowledge and wisdom, but he's not moving. So it's like he has all the tools. He has everything he needs. And an empty, blank canvas. He's got the empty field behind him, but he's not doing anything with it.
That's interesting. And I assume you associate, I've seen you associate signs with cards. I myself am not that well versed with the tarot deck, so I'm not sure, but what sign is the Knight of Wands associated with?
He is, so I just say Earth in general. So, I
Okay.
always just read him as just Earth in general.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Certainly feels very Taurus.
Yeah.
Opportunity and not moving.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Or
exactly.
move.
I always read the King of Pentacles as Taurus. I mean, he is Taurus, but yeah, he very Taurian for sure.
King of Pentacles is Taurus. What would
Yeah.
be the Capricorn sign? You have some
Uh,
Capricorn in your chart.
yeah, Queen of Pentacles.
Oh, interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Does the male female gender change between king and queen mean something in the tarot? Does it translate to yin yang? Is it literally
Yeah, you could
sexual?
read it as energy or just I kind of just look at it as the like a journey. It's like it's just the next step, and so the queens are kind of the creation, the kings are more, in just like the emperor and the empress, the emperor sends there's water behind the emperor that goes to the empress. So it's like his energy kind of, feeds her in a way. And I always look at the king and the queen, the kings and the queens as like kind of their energy, feeding each other.
Oh, interesting. Completing each other in a way too.
Yeah. Hmm.
That basic need between yin and yang, basically.
Yep.
Um, you no longer do personal readings. May I ask
Yep.
why?
Yeah, just a time issue. So even I was doing them years ago, and I raised my price crazy high, and I still couldn't keep up. So with the amount of videos I do, and plus I have other stuff I work on, it's just impossible to keep up.
Got you. When you were doing readings, and I know it's the same way, like I'm a person that can only do so many because of the
Yeah.
time commitment. But I also need to do them to keep my skills sharp, I find
Hmm.
too. But you're doing cards,
Yeah,
I don't
daily.
know. Yeah, you do literally, just so everyone knows, you have like your schedule is like a weekly schedule, a monthly schedule, a
Yeah.
quarterly schedule. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
That's interesting. And are
So
you noticing cards, trends happening from quarter to monthly to weekly, just again and again and again coming up?
yeah, definitely. Like I said, Two of Swords, Seven of Pentacles always stands out to me because I think we're in a time where the universe is saying, "Is the juice worth the squeeze?" Is what I always say. Like, are you doing something? Do you have the leverage? Are you getting leverage? I think leverage is a big word that people should focus on right now. Are you being super efficient? I think. If you're doing things that are wasting your time or sucking your energy or whatever, that's like a big theme that I've been seeing.
I noticed that with the leverage. I was trying to think and translate that into astrology, and the only thing I can really think of is it's kind of Uranus. Like,
Hmm.
Uranus always seems to me pushing for less, more for less, to be
Yeah.
more efficient, to choose the right, the innovative path that gets three birds in one, versus one.
Yeah.
But I noticed that you were talking about that a lot, the leverage point. That really good advice, I think, as well. So having doing the cards for all 12 signs all the time, if I met you in public or something and I said I was a Taurus, would you immediately have cards come up in your head and be like, "Oh Lord"?
Yeah, I would probably because I think Taurus always gets like Queen of Pentacles. I'm always talking about resourcefulness for Taurus, being super resourceful at this time. Watching your resources. I'm always talking about freedom for Taurus. Always talking. Queen of Cups always pops up for Taurus. So I'm always thinking about again for that following your heart, doing doing what is free. I get this like waiting thing for Taurus sometimes where it's almost like you're just like waiting to enter into something, but it's like you're waiting for a sign or a symbol or something, but you just have to kind of like take that leap of faith.
Oh, I know, buddy. I know. I feel like I'm always waiting in line, like
Yeah,
sometimes that waiting just was like I was waiting for the opportunity or waiting for but we're constantly in waiting. But part of that waiting, I think, is also what draws in our opportunities. Like we'll sit
mm,
there and we will not move until
right.
that comes, unless you cow tip us or whatever. I noticed in watching your videos that you have you use many decks in your readings, which is interesting. I want to ask you about that. And it seems like you have your own layout. Is that a layout that you designed or
Yeah.
came up with or channeled? Yeah.
Yeah, just like just how it happened. I don't even remember. I think when I first started, I was doing like 7 cards. That's it. And then, yeah, I just kind of was looking for something more in depth. So I originally started doing. It started as past, present, future, outcome, which I still do sometimes. So each column, was past, present, future, outcome. And then I just started attaching just whatever popped into my head. Like I sit down here, I have a note, and I write down whatever I think. So sometimes it's messages from your future self or whatever. And so I just started doing that.
Yeah, I noticed that you would come up with different angles.
Hmm.
And some of your videos are different angles. A message from your future self is really, really clever as well. And I noticed that you have one deck lays out the cards. You did another deck that was crossing the cards. What's that crossing layer, if I may ask?
Yeah, so I just like to clarify, the whole entire message. So when I go back over, I'm just clarifying everything.
So it's a second look at, but from a different deck,
Yep, yep.
basically. And
Hmm.
you had like circle cards, which I've never seen
Yeah.
before. I went to minnowpond.com, your Minnowpond website for your tarot, and you had 20 different affiliate decks
Hmm.
basically there that you're involved with. Do you work with that many decks yourself?
Yeah, I have like I wish I had this camera on because I would turn it on, but I have a whole huge stack over here, tons and tons of decks. So probably way more than 20. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm very curious. I mean, I bought different decks before. I'm a novice at pulling cards for myself. Um, what comes with differently with a different deck? Like,
Yeah, I think better like different messages. Some, there's some that I really like. I have a lot that I don't use, but like Golden Tarot, for example, is one of my favorites. Although I never use it anymore, because it just has like better. I don't know. Some of the imagery is different. Makes me kind of channel different things. I lately for the past few years I've only pretty much been using the Radiant Rider Waite for whatever reason. Just been my favorite, so that's what I use.
so it comes down to what you feel an affiliation for. I
Yeah.
noticed that you're really good on the symbolism and the imagery in the cards. You're often citing that imagery. I would assume the different cards have different imagery, or do they all usually have the same imagery from a different perspective?
Some of them are super different, and like not even close to the original Rider Waite, and then some are pretty close.
It seems like there's a real um story behind each card that you're also aware of, that you're telling a certain narrative.
Yeah, like I follow the Fool's journey, so the Fool has a journey through the major arcana, and so whenever the major arcana, I think there is a pretty solid story, and then the court cards are just kind of I kind of look at them as support.
So it seems like there's you also seem to have these underlying themes. And what would you say the underlying theme is for people's mission right now on Earth?
Yeah, I think that to live in happiness, joy, move towards their desire. I think we live in a time where, it's like everybody is still like, I think I always look at these things. I kind of have weird ideas about this. I still haven't, I have to process my thoughts on this, but, I look at things like COVID, which took people out of work. And I'm like, okay, what is the universe like really saying to us? Right. And so I think it's saying that it wants people to, be more free. Like I said, do things that they desire to do, not necessarily job. I mean, obviously we're still going to have people who do desire to do whatever their job is, but for the most part, do people do they complain, or are they happy that they have to go to work? So I think that's where we're headed.
That's interesting. I had the same takeaway too. It's like America's all based on working our butt skis off
Hmm.
and giving up all of our personal life for our career. And boy, did that bubble pop
Yeah.
with COVID. Like suddenly Americans are like, I don't feel like it.
Exactly, yeah.
We're being raised to be. So I don't, in that way, I wonder like, like if there was intent behind it, it might have backfired. But I've noticed that people, I noticed the same thing. I mean, I look at Aquarius as the opposite of Leo. I look at
Mhm.
Leo as our heart's intention. Aquarius is where that heart's intention belongs in the universe. So I've personally seen Pluto moving to Aquarius. To me, it's like a calling to, follow our hearts. That's certainly a theme I have seen. But it's interesting to say that you're on the same thing. Have you ever how do you interpret a card falling out of a deck? That was a friend of mine who does tarot. Want me to ask you that question?
Yeah, I personally don't read that. I personally don't take pop outs. I'm like a super butterfingers anyway, so I'm always dropping stuff, and I don't think it would be. It's not something that I read into too much. If like I said, if readers want to read, I know some readers like shuffle until cards pop out, and just how they read.
I've seen it in a couple of videos before, and I had never even
Mhm.
thought of that. I've even
Yeah.
had when I've had a couple of readings too. it'll pop out and they'll say, oh, here's a
Yeah.
comment from the guides or whatever. And usually it's darn accurate. So it's pretty funny. Do you do your own cards and read your own self?
No, the way I was taught to is to not read for yourself, so I just don't, and again, I know plenty of people that do, so I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, as an astrologer, sometimes people know my chart better than I do.
Yeah, of course.
It's just like, oh, that's right. It isn't at that degree. I completely forgot because I'm so focused on it for the world or whatever. Do you go back and watch your Pisces video or your Aquarius video and go, oh my gosh, that's exactly where I'm at?
No, I mean, I have, and I like I said, I try to actively take, I make sure I take myself out of my readings. So, for the most part, they rarely, sometimes something will come up, but I also don't like listening to myself talk. So, I don't really go back and watch them too much.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I understand. Plus, it's kind of I have a Leo rising, so I'm more inclined to that probably than the average person. I fully admit that. And you have an Aqua rising, right? So.
Yeah.
So that's literally the opposite of me, and that way we're opposites in that direction.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to someone who wants to? Do you recommend a person reads for themselves? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's perfectly acceptable. And, if you can be unbiased and not look for an answer, I think that even in my course, I have a tarot course and I was talking about it in there. And I think I said, like, limit it to, 3 cards. Don't pull more than that. Take the first answer. Don't look for an answer.
yeah, I did go through one obsessive period in my life where I was throwing down cards every day of the week, and I was unhappy, and I was reshuffling, and I was unhappy, and I
Yeah,
was just seeing nothing but doom in them, and like I couldn't see the bright side of things. Yeah.
exactly. And that's why I say limit it to like 3.
I did having a mom that did tarot every day of my whole life. I did watch myself move from like, she would say, this is you. And I remember being a page, and then I became a prince, and then I became a king over time. So I actually saw myself sort of evolve in her deck. Do you see evolution like that as well? Like among the signs, for instance, you're watching them growing up or watching them go through a hard time?
Yeah, so like I've noticed like trends for a long time, like Leo, for example. I remember maybe my first or second week, I had a video where I was saying something to Leo about trying new things. I still say these same things to Leo. It has never changed the whole entire time that I've been reading, for almost 9 years now on this channel. So, I've seen so many things like that. I think of Virgo. Shout out to the Virgos, butterflies. It's just like been constant butterflies and transformations, and I literally saw them go from a caterpillar to a butterfly with the cards.
That's interesting. The North Node in Aries is now in their 8th house. So that it does appear from the astrological solar chart perspective that they are about to become butterflies too. And
Yeah.
just they were so caught up in relationships. But Neptune blazing through their solar 7th, I think, has really helped them evolve out of that. So I'm excited to see where Virgos go. I mean, they're the ultimate cleaners of the zodiac, and this world's a mess. So,
Yeah.
like you said, are there any other, since you brought up a couple other trends and signs that you might think of just as a little piece of candy for our subscribers?
Yeah, I think of Pisces. I said to Pisces, there was something weird about, Pisces having Uranus in their 2nd house. I had to experience that, but for whatever reason, I always think of like Uranus in the 2nd and Aries as being the worst. So, but I always say to Pisces that, I think that Pisces was being prepared. It's funny that you said that at the beginning of the reading of this video, because, I always say to Pisces that they were being prepared to like show people what to do next. It's like, you've already been through it. So now it's your job to show people what to do next.
You're seeing that in the cards. That's great. Yeah. And Chiron in their 2nd right now I think they're healing over those failures. I think for a lot of Pisces, like you mentioned, having a business failure. I've never met a Pisces who didn't have a failure.
Yeah.
But I personally believe that part of being a Pisces is like overcoming some of that karma and responding differently in this life than you have in another life. Do you come from a perspective of multi-lifetimes or pick up on past life energies?
I don't pick up on past lives, but I definitely believe in past lives. Definitely, believe in all that. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense too.
Does it come up in the cards, for instance? Is there like a history that comes up in a tarot card?
It's like someone's life history.
Yeah, like that they're being haunted by the past. And
Yeah, I
kind of
think
speak to that, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that you could definitely read that way. I can't remember. It's probably come up in the past, but I definitely think there are plenty of cards where you could say, like Judgment, for example, they're literally rising out of coffins, stepping into a new life. So yeah, I think there's plenty of cards that could say that.
Got you. I'm just wondering how it works inside yourself. Are you seeing pictures? Are you hearing words? How is it streaming for you?
I just don't pay attention to my words really. It's kind of hard to explain. I just like I say, I just leave my body. It's something that came to me. I've been doing it for a long time, so it's kind of hard to describe. But it's like I just describe it as I just move out of the way, and whatever comes out comes out.
Yeah, I've always called it like the zone, so to speak, being in
Yeah,
a certain zone. When you when you're in that zone, you learn to trust it, right? You
right,
simply
right.
trust it. Yeah. For some reason, my zone said to me to ask you about cancers. I don't know why.
Yeah, so Cancer, I can't, and of course now I'm drawing a blank on Cancer, but Cancer,
All right.
I no, it's fine. I always think of Cancer. I can't remember I think they have to, kind of be more bold. I see something for Cancer about needing to like expand. I do remember now because I was saying something about Cancers. Start like some of them in business, for example, needing to trust themselves more to, expand into a bigger place, and but not even just in business, like all areas of their life.
Okay, interesting. And that's what the astrology is showing also, actually. I think with Uranus and there's solar 11th, I think cancers are so there's these signs that have been having a real hard luck. Pisces are one of them.
Yeah,
Virgos have had a hard luck. I found a lot of Scorpios are always in thankless positions in life, or they're not being appreciated for who they are, and they're taking that very personally and sometimes bitterly. You know what I mean? But to me, as I've been evolving and watching the planets, and that's the thing. I mean, you probably have the same thing. You're watching these signs grow, like families, like races, right?
yeah.
Um, and it seems like Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, I almost see like they're probably part of the answer that we're looking for, and they've been clearing a lot of their hard stuff because I feel like they're going to take more of a center stage going forward. And so
Yeah, no, it's just funny that you say that because I thinking of Scorpio, they've been getting the tower for probably 2 years with me for almost every single reading. So it makes a lot of sense with Scorpio. I mean, if there's any Scorpios watching too, that they know that they're always getting the tower.
Yeah, the short end. Hey, since you bring up the topic, can you define what is the tower? Like to me, if I get that in a reading, I almost want to leave.
Yeah, I don't look at tarot as good or bad, and to me
Okay.
it's just loose guidance at best anyway. But the tower is very necessary, and the story is that the two people they've been ignoring reality, so it's a shock to the system, and they're being brought back down to reality. So it's like a good thing. It's like breaking free from the matrix, seeing reality for what it really is.
Okay. Because it seems to have always been accompanied with a shock in my life.
Yeah, it is always shock. Yeah, it is always shocking, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Another sign I think interesting is Sagittarius. I found that it's like they've always been I've seen them on the side, sort of like narrating the game, kind of, always telling the stories, bringing the links together, but not necessarily ever writing the story. And it feels like they're being called now to take charge of that narrative. Have you seen any trends in the Sag story?
So Sagittarius readings have been really positive lately, and I keep telling Sagittarius not to give up. I know that specifically. I see it's like weird how I see it in my head, but I have this like theory of circles, and there's like one main circle that you are, and there's like all these circles around it, and these circles are like they're like supporting circles, like kind of like they have spokes that go out from your main circle, and so I know this is crazy, but that's how I see Sagittarius. I think that they have like this main idea for their life, and they just need to work on all these like supporting circles that kind of go around their main circle.
That's fascinating. I fully believe in circles. I mean, what you're
Yeah.
describing to me is like the clockwork of the universe, that there are all these gears within gears. I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, that's what the planets are. They're going in circles. And that's when people ask me, every now and then I meet a person who doesn't believe in astrology, which is always a shock to my system because I'm so used to being like talking to people who believe in it. But the way I was describing is, it seems like all we do as humans is walk in circles,
Right. Right.
and so astrology is real, like, where are you in the circle, and then where are
Yeah.
you in this circle and this circle within that circle. So I'm on your circle team for sure, dude.
Cool. Yeah.
you know, and it's interesting, but if things are going right, just to be philosophical with you, that circle is more of a spiral staircase. Like
Yes.
the next time you're at that place in the circle, hopefully you have a better view. Hopefully you have more wisdom there. So it seems like we're just always repeating.
I mean, I used to talk about this all the time. I used to talk about a spiral going up and, kind of drawing a line straight through it, to kind of like go up faster.
Oh, that's an interesting wizard trick. You got a
Yeah,
lot of wizard tricks.
I
Yeah,
do.
that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. Very Merlin like. Since we've talked, I feel like we have to say something about every sign. So pardon me for putting you on the spot.
No, go for it.
Any thoughts on Gemini? And what you've seen for Geminis?
So, Gemini, I'm trying to think of the last reading that I did for Gemini. Of course, Gemini and Sagittarius, I forget. Or not Sag, who was the other one? Scorpio or Cancer. Gemini, I think I think Gemini has to get more of their ideas out there. And
Well said.
yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Sure. I think that Gemini has to get more of their ideas out there.
That's a great, and that's really where they've failed to be on the football team of life super well. Like they've kept their ideas private. That Venus retrograde went through their solar third house. So I kind of feel like I'm waiting for Geminis to come out with some bright ideas and some solutions. And then sometimes the one in the back of the room and it's like, they'll talk your ear off if you catch them in a conversation, but the profound stuff comes out in a whisper for some reason. It's like, speak up,
Yeah.
on the profound stuff. Yeah.
It's like imposter syndrome.
You think that's what it is? That's interesting. Yeah. Their Aries for their healing is in their relationships to society. So I think I think imposter syndrome is a brilliant way to kind of phrase that and coin that. And Cancer and Geminis often get forgotten. I have to say,
Yeah, they do, right?
Unfortunately, that's part of their role.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you seeing for Aries right now?
Yeah, Aries is really good as well. I'm loving it for Aries because I think Aries is kind of in a good position for leveling up. I know I say that to them like every single week right now. I see Aries just needing to kind of like maybe break free from the noise. People saying, "Oh, do this, do that." People trying to live their life for them and just be their Aries self.
Yeah, go back, and the North Node's back in Aries for the first time since 2004, 2005. So
Yeah.
I think we're getting a new Aries. It seems like Aries are always the first ones to go out there and try something. And I think some of them who are older are a little reluctant, but Chiron and Aries, I think, is really helping them to go at it one more time. So again, I think we need the Aries to be bold in this re-evolution of humanity. Like we need them they have the courage to try for it. What about their opposite Libras? Go ahead. I'm sorry if you had another.
No, I was just going to say one thing on Aries is that, I always say that like what comes up for them always is that whatever they're thinking about doing with their life, it's like they've already done it. That's what I always get. It's like you've already I think Aries is a perspective thing. They need to see how far they've come to be able to get to the next step.
Oh, that's interesting. They have a reputation for not finishing the job too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but so you're saying they might finish it.
Yeah, I think Aries can finish it because, again, I see Aries in this, like, it's almost like purgatory. They're in this middle zone. And, I think a lot of Aries have these big dreams, but it's that needing to say, if they could just see how much they've accomplished over the past like 8 years and how far they've come, they probably would tick over to that other side.
I agree. And they've been through it. Uranus went through their sign. I don't think there's anything harder than that, being a Taurus and having it in my sign. I mean, you had Uranus go through your sign too.
Yeah.
That was probably when you were coming into your power initially, huh?
Yeah, probably.
Probably staring at for 3 years at the wall with Uranus and Pisces, probably.
Exactly when it was, right?
Yeah, Uranus kicks your astro, man.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a wake-up call. How about the Libras, the opposite of Aries?
Yeah, Libra is my sign that I'm always saying is the juice worth the squeeze. They get the Seven of Pentacles nonstop, and so I think that leverage, seeing where they're effective in life. I always say the word effectiveness to Aries. To Libra, and so I think they are kind of deciding where they're effective.
Yeah, I'm saying the same stuff with the South Node in Libra right now. It's kind of like I think Libra's egos get attached to making it work when it's really never been working from the beginning. And so, are you getting the juice from the squeeze? That squeeze is some person that they were trying to like get to work, and they were building the bridge and doing all the work and being let down in the end. So,
yeah.
But ironically, the North Node's in their solar 7, so they're probably going to be switching up here as far as partnerships are concerned, from what I can tell. Did we talk about Leos yet? You basically said with Leos, it's time to change what they're doing.
Yeah, so I always tell Leo that, they always get like the Eight of Swords, for example. So it's the battle of kind of, what has always worked, needing to break free from convention. That's what I always say to Leo. And, I think the 80-20 rule, or my 80-20 rule, which is 80% of the time, do what works, 20% of the time, try something new.
That's a good percentage. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I think about Leos, they have Virgo in the second solar house. So it's like they do get sort of overly attached to certain things that even sometimes don't work. It's like their
Yeah.
devotion to it is to their detriment at sometimes. They're like more, in some ways, they're more dedicated of the heart more than any other sign, even when it's
Hmm.
clearly not working and maybe humiliating. Like they still do it.
Yeah.
Um, so speak to Taurus real quick. What are your thoughts on Taurus?
So Taurus, what have I been saying to Taurus? I think Taurus has been getting, the freedom thing, of course. I'm always telling them to follow their heart, and creativity comes up for Taurus all of a sudden, just like the past 3 weeks, maybe. I've noticed this, like more of a push towards getting their creative ideas out into the world.
Yeah. And I think what came up when my reading with you was leverage, leverage, leverage.
Right.
You kept telling us to leverage, and I kept thinking to myself, you really did help me think about things differently. That because we're a little stubborn,
Yeah.
we want to see through it to the end and then decide it's failed. We don't cut things early. We
Yeah.
produce it and sell it.
Right.
Yeah, kind of thing. So can you speak on Pisces being one?
Yeah, Pisces, I think, I've been telling Pisces to go, to believe in themselves, go for the gold. That really, I think Pisces can achieve a lot, their wildest dreams. I mean, I really don't think there's a better setup. Neptune, the crazy ass ideas with Neptune, and then having Saturn there, like being able to put in the work if you put in the work. Again, I think, I always say Pisces, I'm not blowing smoke here. Really, I think you could accomplish 1,000 times more than what you think you can, but but the work part needs to happen.
Yeah, agreed. And I think Saturn, I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think they're very blessed having the self-discipline of Saturn, which is not at all their strong suit.
Yeah, yeah.
The self-discipline. You're blessed with some
I
Taurus
am.
planets, some
Yeah,
Capricorn, yeah, some Capricorn planets. But then also the Neptune vision of like the dreamer energy of Pisces as
yeah,
well. How about Aquarius, your rising?
yeah. So Aquarius always, a star card. I've been telling Aquarius to have a North Star for a long time, having that like big vision, guiding light type of thing in their life.
Yeah, I mean, and with Pluto entering, I always say we can't have the age of Aquarius without Aquariuses, and it
Right.
seems like they've been on the sidelines. They have been reluctant to use their magic. They sort of they're like an electron. They sort of blink in and out of resistant existence all the time. Like they're never really.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm getting friends with them, they're gone. They ghost
Yeah.
me. Like so I feel like Pluto, it's an Aquarius. Like Aquarians are a little freaked out about it, but I am thanking God. It's like thank God Pluto's coming there. It's going to force you to define some of yourself and really bottle that lightning once and for all.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, I think of like I've had multiple Aquarius friends just disappear, completely. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, me too. And I think following the heart's the whole thing. That's the last thing they are is like sentimental and sappy. Like the
Yeah,
last thing
right.
they are is Leo. But I agree with you. It seems like that's going to be where they find their magic, is where they go ahead and look like whatever they're afraid of looking like, you know.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
great point. Yep.
they're going to look a little messy. They're going to be a hot mess, but they're going to be so effective. And obviously they're going to lead us into the new age.
Yeah, of
And
course.
this is a natural segue into Capricorn, because Pluto is coming out of Capricorn. They've just been beaten to death since 2008. They're in their final beating now. I think there's one more beating next year. Like it's
Yeah,
going to go into Aquarius and Capricorn one more time.
one
What
more
have you
time.
been
Yeah.
seeing with and I've every Capricorn client I have has just been digging those goat heels in every step of the way. I think making it harder just for their insistence to try to make the old way work. What have you seen?
Yeah, so and I also say education. I mean, when Saturn was in Capricorn, I always would get these messages about education, like self-education for Capricorn for whatever reason. So I was always telling them to educate themselves, and then it kept coming up, and I was like, oh yeah, Pluto is there too. So maybe that's triggering self-education for whatever reason.
That's interesting. Uranus and Jupiter are now in their fifth house, or solar fifth house. So I find Capricorns for the first time becoming conscious capitalists. I mean, they've always been the diehard
Yeah,
capitalists, but I've really seen a shift in the Capricorns becoming more conscious, wanting their money and their power to go to something else other than money and power per se, which I know is cliche, but I always looked at Capricorns as sort of like the monopoly guy.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing a monopoly guy with a magic wand, or doing something like a salon or something that helps people. I've noticed.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and fighting, but still fighting that last bitter end.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what they're stable, and God bless them for being so stable. Okay, I think we've hit all the signs. Do you have memory? I think we did.
I think we did. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll complain in the chat.
Yeah, someone will say it.
Yeah, let us know, not complain, but they'll flag us if someone was left behind. This just came up from a chat person. I don't want to put you on the spot. Would you be willing to pull a card for the audience that's watching right now, or whatever you like to pull?
I'm gonna use a not Rider Waite. How's that?
Whatever you want.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna use this is the Day of the Dead tarot. So that's what we'll use. So we'll ask what's going on for everyone in the chat right now. So we have the we have the Ten of Swords here, which would be some sort of ending or something. But really, I look at the Ten of Swords as a blessing in disguise. He's normally he's on the ground making a symbol with his hands. It's the same symbol that the sorry, I'm looking at the wrong camera, but he's making the same symbol that the Hierophant is making. On this one, it's this moth, but I kind of feel like there are blessings in disguise. Let's pull another card just to we can't end on that note.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
So Six of Cups, which is
the beginning.
Yeah. We have the Six of Cups, which is a turnaround. Six of Cups everybody reads as like the past. But to me, really, the true meaning of the Six of Cups is it's like a gift from the universe, and it can represent a time where you're bumping up against an obstacle, needing to let something that's dead go. I always say this guy is dead on the Ten of Swords. It's something that's dead, done over with, and Six of Cups is like that turnaround moment of having a turnaround in life.
Interesting. So it sounds like a sacrificial killing in order for the turnaround.
I wouldn't say I always look at Ten of Swords not really as a sacrifice, because it is a dead, rotting corpse. It is something that stinks, that needs to leave your life in the first place.
So is that like a relationship or a job? How does that play out?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's anything that I think that intuitively it's the things that are holding you back. And that's like another theme that's come up like crazy, is letting go of bad habits, letting go of things that you need to let go of, which could be people, places, things, pretty much anything. And I do think we're in this like shedding period.
I agree. The planets show it too. And I feel like Pluto in the last degrees of Capricorn is sort of like, one thing about Capricorn energy is that like it holds on to the last minute. So I think like once Pluto leaves Capricorn for good, we're going to see like this, like a rubber band snapping back. We're going to see all these change happen, like what appears to be overnight, which I imagine what the country went through when Pluto went from in the Revolutionary War. There's quite a sudden change. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of shedding in the planets as well. Terrific. So this has gone by so quickly, Chris.
Yeah,
I love this time with you. I always love time with Chris's in general, but you really take the cake, brother.
Oh, thank you.
Any parting words of wisdom for the audience?
I always encourage people to change their story. So I'd say start using better words for yourself.
I love that. I'm going to actually practice what you are preaching myself. And tell people how it's probably self-evident, but how to get in touch with you. You have a news. It looks like you put a lot of energy into a newsletter. That's probably the best way to get on your roster, huh?
Yeah, newsletter, winningpond.com. And so that's where you can find that. And then, of course, Minnopond, just Minnopond Tarot on YouTube.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Folks, if you haven't tried it out, go there right now after the show and look at Chris's work. It speaks for itself, but it's dead smack on. And we tend to be on the same sort of vibe, too. So I think like you are a phenomenal natural on the same path. It seems like we're on the same highway together. So thank you for your time, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, best of luck. And I'll see you backstage here in a minute or two, if you don't mind hanging out. I love that. And we'll do our wrap up. Talk to you soon, Chris, here in a minute. Everyone, check out his website and check out his tarot channel and see for yourself the magic of Minnow. He's quite a magical Pisces and bringing a whole new reputation to Pisces, I'd say, one of the new ones. So with that said, or the new invented ones, not to say anything is wrong, but Pisces come out of their stuff and they're really shining. He's an example of that. We're getting really real here at Sirius Joy. Just as a wrap up here, how to get in touch with us. Our personal sensei service is life coaching 7 days a week based on your astrological chart. We are encouraging everyone now to do just what I said in this show, and that would be to stand up and follow the dreams that you're here to do. You can try us out for just $3.99. You can cancel before the subscription ends. It's at SiriusJoy.com. Right now, what we have is our Mega Monthlies. Lights of the Roundtable is now up and live. So this is a show that comes out once a month with all of our practitioners on camera, Kristen, Robbie, Heather, and Devin, and myself, all talking to the energies and the planets and what you can expect as a theme for September. I think it's a big September. There's also the individual monthly reports as well. So I do a report for all 12 signs. They're about 15 to 20 minutes each per sign. You can listen to your signs, your friends and family signs. That's right off the main lobby on SiriusJoy.com. We also, right now, you can watch live as we have live. Oh, looks like we have a live. Whoops, that was weird. Sorry about that. That was our one of our producers that came on to do a cameo. Hi, Noel. We also have our Angel Intervention is still live. That went live last week with Devin Dorr and Heather Exposito. Those two gals do basically a tag team reading on subscribers, and they talk about, and Devin channels the angels. And this week we have Keeping It Real with Kristen Ryder. She will be live on Wednesday. That's Kristen right there, looking fabulous, sister. The topic is against all odds. So in this lifestyle makeover energy of Virgo, she's going to bring on 3 people who are caught in a dead-end lifestyle or stuck, and it looks like they're going to have to go against all odds to change their life. We'll be talking their astrology. We'll be sharing their stories. That streams live at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays, exclusively at SiriusJoy.com. Kristen Ryder is the best and my soul sister. Another Taurus. Moo, 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 moo. Sharing is caring, folks. The greatest thing you can do for us is to just share us with your friends and family. I mean, every time I do a reading, I ask how people found me. They always say some good friend, some family member introduced them to me. And I think that's the best way, because it is the conscious route of trust of another person. Some people do like to donate to me. I do humbly accept donations as part of the new version of me where I am receiving. And if you'd like to donate, it's paypal.me/Sensei Christopher. Probably the best way to get to know our community and also advertise your own skills is at our Facebook club at SiriousJoy.club. And we'd love for you to share your birthdays with us. So all you Virgos in the club, do a posting, tell us it's your birthday, let us celebrate you. But we do open the club up to anybody who has a business like Chris does, and we just had him on as a guest. If you have a spiritual business that you want to promote, one of our goals in the club is to be a community where you can find other trusted light workers. So come on down and advertise with yourself. The only rule is no politics, and everything must be from a place of compassion. If you'd like to know us and follow us on social media, we do a zodiac weather every day of the week, 7 days a week. I do free guidance that reminds you of the weather of the day and what to focus on the day. This is our community service. All you have to do is follow us on one of our social media platforms. You can find our link tree at SiriousJoy.social. And finally, I must say, if you'd rather listen instead of watch, our podcast numbers are going up every week. There's a lot of people who like to listen while they're working, listen while they're walking or whatever, working out. We are on 3 podcast services. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. Hope to hear you there. All right, friends. Well, this has been a phenomenal episode. My thanks to our producer, Noel Way. My thanks to our director, Sarah Lyman. My thanks to our guest today, Christopher, or Chris Reck. He's a Chris, I'm a Christopher. Thank you for being on. We'll be back next week. It's going to be another exciting show. Stay focused on yourself, my friends. Commit to that new lifestyle. And I'll see you next week on Friday when Mercury goes direct. Until then, I love you.
Thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can find great astrology advice every day on SiriousJoy.com. Christopher will return 1 week from tonight. So until then, have a safe and powerful solar eclipse, and we will see you next week. I'm Heather Exposito, and in the words of Christopher Witecki, live, love, be.
It's Sirius Joy, Joy, Joy.